Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is going to be a video that's a little chatty, I suppose. I wanted to talk to you guys about book prizes, about two things in particular. One, I wanted to put out a call for judges for the 2020 Booktube Prizes next year. So we're going to tackle that first, and I also wanted to talk about the folly of a book prize judging committee choosing two winners for a prize, as happened yesterday with the Booker Prize, the 2019 Booker Prize. So, but before we get to that, let's just talk a little bit about the Booktube Prize next year. I should say the Booktube Prizes. So Robert from Barter Horde is the architect of the Booktube Prize. This was the first year for it. This year there was only one category for novels. There were 4 rounds, octafinals, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the final round. And I was one of the judges in one of the groups for the quarterfinals. I had, let's say, a mixed bag of an experience judging the prize, but most of the people who judged the prize had a much more rewarding experience than I did. So I'm encouraging all of you to think about being a judge yourself next year. There's going to be a novel category, and there's also going to be a nonfiction category next year. So Robert needs a lot more judges than he had this year. I can see now, given some distance from having judged the quarterfinal round, that whatever disappointment I felt in the process likely had at least as much to do, if not more to do, with my own expectations somehow not chiming with or rubbing roughly up against the actual reality of reading that many books in that short a time. And so while it was awkward for me, it has been magnificent for most of the people who participated. Most of them, from what I understand, most of them are going to be participating again next year. So give it some thought, get in touch with Robert, and have some fun with it. So let's move on now to the Booker Prize. And I've got notes here, so forgive me for looking down. So let me start off by saying, okay, so yesterday the 2019 Booker Prize was announced. It was the 3rd time in the prize's history that it was given to 2 books. This video is not a commentary on the books themselves. I have not read either of them, and the books are The Testaments by Margaret Atwood and Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. Again, I have not read either of these books, so I am not passing judgment on them. Instead, like I said at the beginning, this video is meant to be a commentary on the folly of a judging panel opting to give the prize in a given year to 2 books rather than 1 book. And I'm going to lay out 3 reasons why this is a bad idea. So the first one, it shows a lack of resolve in the judges. At best, it shows a lack of resolve. At worst, I think it shows an equivocating cowardice, really. Giving the prize to 2 books instead of 1 book seems to me to be behavior that is cut from the same cloth as the habit of mind that thinks that everybody deserves a prize for everything. You know, we live in a world now where you don't just graduate high school. You graduate kindergarten, you graduate 1st grade, you graduate 2nd grade, you graduate 6th grade. You know, this idea that we need to always be applauded for everything and awarded for everything is it's ridiculous. It's childish. And it's a pretty new phenomenon, I think. Even though, like I said, this has happened multiple times in the past, it feels different now. And I think that has to do with the announcement video yesterday, in which I think he was the chair of the committee, the judging committee. He didn't seem to really talk about the quality of the books. He talked about the contexts in which they've been published and how much they mean as far as their subject matter and their themes go, how much they mean to the world today, etc., etc. He didn't really say anything about the writing. He didn't say anything about the accomplishments of their style, of their prose. It seemed to me to be very much about rewarding books for being very much so of this moment. And that's the wrong reason to give a prize. Number two, giving the prize to two books instead of one sets one of the books up to pale in comparison down the road. So when the dust settles and we're looking back on the history of the Booker Prize, one of the books is going to be thought vastly lesser than the other one, and that's not fair to that book. If that book, the lesser of the two, the perceived lesser of the two, had been allowed to just be a finalist, right, to be remembered as a finalist, it would have been remembered as being on even footing with 4 or 5 other books. As it is, right, we can look back at the history of the Booker Prize. In 1974, Nadine Gordimer won the prize for The Conservationist, and Stanley Middleton won it for Holiday. Right, so Nadine Gordimer and Stanley Middleton shared the prize in 1974. Nadine Gordimer went on to win the 1991 Nobel Prize for Literature. No one knows who Stanley Middleton is anymore. I couldn't even tell you another book that he wrote. And the only reason I know that he wrote Holiday is because I've been a Booker Prize geek for a very long time. But Nadine Gordimer, she's a writer that most bookstores have in stock. Stanley Middleton's a footnote in literary history. In 1992, the prize was shared by Michael Ondaatje for The English Patient and Barry Unsworth for Sacred Hunger. The English Patient went on to win the Golden Booker last year, right? So the best Booker Prize winner of the first 50 years of Booker Prize winners was last year voted on by the public in the UK, and The English Patient won that prize. The best of the best of the best of the best. Sacred Hunger, however good a book it is, and it is, I've read Sacred Hunger, and it's a fine novel. The only people who read Sacred Hunger anymore are Booker Prize completists. That's it. So again, if Sacred Hunger had been allowed to just remain a finalist, it would have been remembered as a book on equal footing with its peers. And instead, it's remembered as the lesser of the two novels that won that year. So in all the commentary I've been reading on Facebook, the Goodreads thread on Facebook, and some newspaper articles, etc., since the Booker Prize announcement yesterday, everything I've been reading in people's commentaries, in people's responses to the sharing of the prize between Girl, Woman, Other, and the Testaments, suggests that Girl, Woman, Other is a vastly superior book to the Testaments. Even people who are Margaret Atwood fans are saying this. So let's jump ahead 20 years, 30 years. Will Margaret Atwood's novel then be doomed to pale in comparison with Girl, Woman, Other? Or will Margaret Atwood's immense celebrity propel her book's reputation beyond Evaristo's book, right? Is that going to be the case? Because again, we live in a world where it seems like book prizes more often than not these days are given for relevance more so than for quality. So it stands to reason that a book living long in the cultural memory these days might actually have more to do with an author's celebrity than with the book's quality, the book itself's quality. And then number 3, the achievement of both books is diminished when a prize is shared. Okay, with one winner, we have the judging panel declaring this book is better than these other books. With 2 winners, we have a judging panel declaring about 2 individual books. This book is better than all of these others except this one, which is unflattering, I think, for a novel to kind of carry on its shoulders in the context of being awarded for being the best. Yeah, it makes no sense to me. So this almost happened, right? This sharing of a Booker Prize almost happened 9 years ago. In 2010, the year that Howard Jacobson won for the Finkler Question, the poet and novelist Andrew Motion who was the chair of the committee, the judging committee that year, revealed in a column maybe a week after the Booker Prize announcement that they were really torn as a committee. They were torn between the Finkler Question and Parrot and Olivier in America by Peter Carey. Now, I would have loved for them to have given the award to Peter Carey. It would have been his third Booker Prize, and he would have been, and would still today be, the only writer with 3 Booker Prizes if they had awarded that year's prize to him. But they didn't. Instead, the judges did what judges should do, and they sat down and they had it out, and they really took a fine-tooth comb to their feelings about each of these 2 books. And they arrived at the conclusion that the Finkler Question was a greater achievement, was a greater accomplishment as a novel than Parrot and Olivier in America. If I remember, I will try to find that column written by Andrew Motion where he talked about the process that they went through, and I'll link it in the description box below. But that's what judges are supposed to do, right? If your job is to sift your way through these novels, to read all of these novels and reread all these novels, and to hash out between you and the other judges which is the best, decide which is the best, right? That's all anyone is asking of you. Just pick a winner, okay? Open a bottle of wine if you have to, and sit down with your other judges, and you debate the merits of the 2 books you're deciding between, and you make a call, right? If it has to come down to the chair, then it comes down to the chair. But you give the prize to 1 book. It's ridiculous when this happens, and it does both writers a disservice in the here and now, and I think certainly in the long run. So anyway, those are my 2 cents about book prize judging committees falling short of their duty, and I will see you guys again very soon. Adios.